So good morning, everybody. Welcome to the European Cybersecurity Certification Conference here in Cyprus, Ayia Napa. We would like to thank everybody for joining us and making this effort online and on-site. The event, as you know, is hybrid. My name is Eugenia Nicolouzou, and I'm a cybersecurity expert in ENISA in the unit of certification for the last years, working on the digital wallets. And we would like to thank, first of all, our co-organizers here in Cyprus, which is the Presidency of Cyprus, and the Digital Security Authority. In order to warm up a little the room, let's give them an applause. It's a pleasure to be here and to host us here despite the challenging period. We know it was difficult, but they made everything work great during these days, before the CCG, and today is more to come. We have the certification week here. So we can see in the agenda, please, that we will have a full day. We will have panel speakers, distinguished keynote speakers. So today we will have the whole vision, and we will see how Europe is moving from the cybersecurity framework in practice. And we will explore it through those sessions. So before we begin with our keynote speakers, I will give also the floor to my colleague, Georgia, who will guide us through some practicalities of the event, so you can follow us more actively.
So hello, also from me. Welcome, good to see you all here, and I hope I see more as the day proceeds. So we will use, during the day, we will use the Mentimeter tool to get some fast views from you. And at the end, towards the end of the session, you will also be requested to fill in a satisfaction survey to tell us honestly what do you think about this event. So if you're happy, please say it. If you're not happy, also say it. Don't hesitate. We mostly appreciate the negative comments. So yes, we get better with these. So let's start with a Mentimeter question. Just tell us, okay, what are you? Which organizations do you represent? And also, let me also tell you that you could use the Mentimeter and ask your questions. So, and we will show, I guess, if there are too many questions, we cannot show everything, but the questions will be asked to our panelists, to our speakers. So please share your questions also using this tool. Great, great. I'm happy to see that you're participating. Don't leave. Follow us during the whole day. Be here. Great.
So I don't know if, in order to move on with our keynote speakers, in order to set up the wider European scheme and to see what's follow, this is the first part of the day, the keynote speakers. Is Despoina Spanou connected? Otherwise, we can continue until she connects with the next speakers.
just a slight remark. So we had this remark that we had misspelled the name of Mrs. Panou. So this is not the Spoina, because in Greece we have several E's. So one of these E's is the combination of two letters, O and I. So this is also E, okay? It's Despina.
Okay, so we are honored to welcome first Despina Spanou, which is the Deputy Director General at DG Connect, helping steer Europe's policy at the highest level and shaping the broader policy environment and the friend of ENISA. So Despina, the floor is yours, please.
And a friend of ENISA indeed, but also a friend and a native of Cyprus. Do you hear me well, or do I have to adjust?
Yes, we hear you very clearly, yes. As if you are here.
Because I feel an echo.
No, there is no echo in the room. Here we are fine.
Very good.
Yeah.
So yes, so I'm a friend of ENISA. I am also a native of Cyprus, so I am particularly sad not to be with you this morning. I'm very sorry, but we have important institutional meetings today, and they do not allow me to be there. And I'm very sad, and I wish you a fantastic conference in this beautiful place with a great Cypriot sun. I want to also greet all the attendees. I believe also the General Secretary of the Ministry is there, and Johan Lepassa, Executive Director of ENISA. I think it is a fantastic moment to hold a conference linked in any way to cybersecurity. And I think that many people will think that certification is a very technical matter, but actually it is not. When we designed the first certification framework some 8 years ago, or even more, what we were thinking is that this will be the way of bringing the European Union approach into cybersecurity, actually. The internal market approach, the idea of having a common playing field, common standards across the EU when it comes to cybersecurity. And at the time, we were the first in the world to do so. At the time, the only other framework that existed of the kind was a voluntary framework in NIST in the US. And what we also had in place was the European Common Criteria, but this was not in all member states. And this is why it was the very first certification scheme that we adopted at EU level to make sure that it became an EU product altogether. So many thanks for this gathering. I'd like to congratulate ENISA and Johan and his team, Apostolos and his team, as well as the Cyprus Presidency for keeping this important meeting on our agenda, despite the current geopolitical situation. But I think the current geopolitical situation, colleagues, makes it even more imperative that we do not leave any corner of our cybersecurity ecosystem unattended. And this has been our idea also behind the update of our current cybersecurity framework. As you know, in our proposal for the Cybersecurity Act number 2, as it is called, the review of our current Cybersecurity Act, we have ensured that we modernize and update our current certification framework, and so that it is fit for today's age, so that it is really a backdrop of how we do cybersecurity in Europe. This is part not only of our digital transformation, but also of making sure that things are easy for us, because certification is not a very easy process. We want certification not to be about bureaucracy. I cannot stress that enough. It is about assurance. It is about the invisible shield that protects. It is about our passports, our payment cards, our connected products that should be secure. And I think that's where the common criteria play a very important role. It is about trusting that digital identity solutions are secure, your personal credentials, your personal data, and this is what we're trying to do with the EUDI Wallet. It's also about providing small and medium-sized enterprises with a benchmark for choosing trustworthy cybersecurity services and respond effectively to incidents. This is how we're going to do a certification framework for managed security services. So without certification, we think there is less belief and loyalty to the trust that we want to aspire to. So what is our intention now with the certification framework that we have proposed? The idea is to make it more efficient, more agile, more scalable, more aligned to today's regulatory landscape. The idea is to also make it a little bit more dynamic, and ENISA will have a great role to play, a very central role to play in this respect. Today, our ambition is to have at least 6 European cybersecurity certification schemes operational within the next 5 years. This is not about quantity. The idea is also that these must be responsive, inclusive, and rooted in the real world cybersecurity practices. So this is particularly important for us. Now, how we will achieve this? The first thing we have proposed is to streamline our processes, to make them more about the preparation and development of an efficient way of certification schemes. Dynamic updates is another ambition of ours. We have proposed a maintenance mechanism so that ENISA plays a key role as a scheme manager, so to speak, to ensure that schemes remain up to date and that they are corresponding to the rapidly evolving technological and threat landscape. We also wanted to be linked to the supply chain security. You know that in our new Cybersecurity Act, we have proposed for the first time an ICT supply chain risk management framework. We would like this to be also demonstrated through our certification schemes and unlocking schemes for critical technologies, like, for instance, 5G or cloud, so that they serve our supply chain agenda. We also see simplification for the certification framework through innovation. We add a crucial element, which is the creation of a cyber posture scheme that could be used to demonstrate compliance for cybersecurity organizations and cybersecurity NIS2 operators. So basically to use a scheme that will allow any operator to demonstrate they're compliant with NIS2. And I think that the market has particularly welcomed this proposal. So overall, we try to make this proposal extremely lean and dynamic. The Cypriot Presidency plays a key role there because they have started already the negotiation on this proposal, and we hope that this will lead to a swift agreement of member states so that we can move to discuss the supply chain issues. Also, just to say that we are creating in our proposal also a more open and participatory approach through the new certification assembly that we are proposing, that will play a pivotal role in uniting this ecosystem and ensuring that we work together and that we take collectively our decisions around certification. I would like to leave you with 3 key messages because I know I shouldn't be too long, especially connecting via link. First, that cybersecurity certification is not a technicality, especially in today's world. I think it can play a strategic role for Europe's digital cybersecurity ecosystem. We are entering a new phase where certifications should be simpler and more accessible to everyone. And third, success depends on all of us. We need to work together through the assembly we have proposed, but also through all the mechanisms that we have, industry, certification bodies, and the stakeholder community together with governments, so that we can actually use the certification to enhance our security. This is all about trust. I think that your discussions today will be very important to give us the picture of what you think out there about what we're trying to do with certification. So I wish you a great day, and I hope you have the time to enjoy the Cypriot sun.
Thank you very much. I don't know if we can show to Dimitra, to Despina the room, so she can see us all together here, that it's not only one person, but everybody. And we have all our friends and stakeholders here, and then the whole ENISA team to support this event. Thanks a lot, Despina. So, thank you very much. Now we can move to the next keynote speaker, and maybe we can move to Cyprus, so to the local organizers here, and welcome on stage Dr. Stefani Heridou. Yes, who is the director of the Cyprus Organization for Promotion of Quality. We will bring the national leadership perspective on science-based security trust and implementation. Please come to the floor. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. Kalimera. I'm presenting on behalf of the Minister of Energy, Commerce and Industry. Dear Deputy Director General, dear Executive Director of ENISA, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor to welcome you to this conference on behalf of the Ministry of Energy, Commerce and Industry. We convene at a pivotal moment for European digital sovereignty as we move from establishing frameworks to the practical reality of EU-wide cybersecurity certification. Cybersecurity is not merely a technical requirement, but a fundamental pillar of our industrial competitiveness and energy security. The transition to a smarter energy grid and the digitalization of our industrial base bring immense opportunities, but also significant risks that can only be mitigated through rigorous, harmonized standards. We celebrate a major achievement with the European Common Criterion-based Cybersecurity Certification Scheme, EUCC. As of February 2025, this scheme became the first fully applicable framework under the Act, focusing on the life cycle of critical ICT products like firewalls, routers, and smart cards. Trust in the system depends on the competence of our conformity assessment bodies, CAPs. It is the responsibility of national authorities to ensure these bodies meet high standards of technical competence and impartiality. In Cyprus, the authority for this critical work is the Cyprus Organization for the Promotion of Quality, CYS-CSAP, which operates under the auspices of our ministry. As the official national accreditation body, CYS-CSAP is the linchpin of our national quality infrastructure, ensuring that the body certifying products and services meet the highest European standards of competence and impartiality. It is essential to highlight that CYS-CSAP is not merely a national regulator, but a vital link in the global quality infrastructure. Through its full membership in the European Cooperation for Accreditation, EA, and the Global Accreditation Cooperation Incorporated, GLOBAC, CYS-CSAP is a signatory to the Multilateral Agreement, EAMLA, and the Multilateral Recognition Arrangement, GLOBAC-MRA. This membership is essential for ensuring international recognition for accreditation issued in Cyprus. Europe is actively preparing for new schemes, including the EU Cloud Services, EUCS, scheme, and the EU Managed Security Services, EU-MSS framework, which will cover incident response and penetration testing. The regulatory landscape is evolving rapidly. Early this year, the European Commission proposed a revised Cybersecurity Act to further simplify these procedures and introduce a horizontal framework for ICT supply chain security. Furthermore, the EU Cyber Resilience Act, CRA, which entered into force in late 2024, aims to safeguard consumers and businesses buying software or hardware products with digital elements. The CRA introduces mandatory cybersecurity requirements for manufacturers, covering the planning, design, development, and maintenance of such products. Products which bear the CE marking to indicate that they comply with the CRA requirements. In Cyprus, we have embraced these challenges by officially joining the Common Criteria Recognition Arrangement, CCRA, in July 2025. Our National Cybersecurity Certification Authority, NCCA, is supervising compliance and supporting the accreditation of bodies that will position Cyprus as a regional center for cybersecurity excellence. To achieve this common goal, the NCCA collaborates closely with CYS CSAP. This conference is a vital platform for stakeholders, from SMEs to multinational industries, to align with these European mandates. Certification is no longer just a voluntary badge. It is becoming a strategic compliance obligation that ensures our products and services are reliable. In this evolving landscape, accredited certification is no longer a secondary requirement. It is a critical strategic asset that transforms European policy into verified proof of security. Let us use these sessions to strengthen that backbone of trust, ensuring that our digital future is as resilient as it is ambitious. Thank you, and I wish you all a productive conference.
So now the last keynote speaker is our Executive Director, Ayia Napa from ANISA, who will guide through our the challenges and who is leading this cybersecurity game. So Ayia, the floor is yours. Thanks.
Good morning, everybody. Let me first put on my cybersecurity certification hat. That's what you get when you participate on site. Ladies and gentlemen, first I want to thank my fellow keynote speakers. Thank you so much for framing the discussion, for giving us an insight not only about the future of the cybersecurity certification framework in Europe, but also what's particular the Cyprus ecosystem looks like. It's very helpful. Thank you. Let me also thank again the Cyprus Presidency for organizing this, for hosting us in this marvelous venue. I know again that it's not easy to organize a presidency, especially in the very difficult times, but I think they pulled it off wonderfully. So I think they deserve another applause. I also want to thank the European Commission, our partners in cybersecurity certification, the future of which we will discuss today at great length. I'll put on my glasses because otherwise I can't see. So this is not an ANISA conference, as you have already noticed. It's an EU conference. The title says an EU certification conference. And providing trust and assurance for cybersecurity digital single market is a matter for all of us. It is an EU coordinated, collaborative effort. All of the draft candidate schemes that ANISA designs together with you follow the same naming convention: EUCC, EUMSS, EUDI CS, EU5G. This is not a random choice. Coming up with a common EU-wide agreement on how to provide cybersecurity solutions, establish assurance levels and common evaluation methods, effectively promoting harmonization and simplification at the very core of digital single market. Certify once, certify everywhere. The certification schemes are designed to cater to market needs while meeting the security expectations. Certification in this context is a compelling tool that empowers EU competitiveness and cybersecurity. We are here to talk about ongoing certification efforts, take a strategic look at what the future holds, discuss the ever-growing interplay of cybersecurity certification with other legislations, such as the Cyber Resilience Act, the CRA, Cyber Solidarity Act, and NIS2 directive, but more importantly, to engage actively with all of you, the representatives from national cybersecurity certification authorities, conformity assessment ecosystem, notification authorities, industry, market surveillance authorities. Without all of you, cybersecurity certification would not be a reality, it wouldn't work. Let me go briefly through the developments of the three schemes. Firstly, the EUCC, common criteria. As the first ever adopted EU cybersecurity certification scheme, the EUCC is paving the way for the next schemes that are currently in preparation. Last year, in this conference, and on the anniversary of the entry into force of the EUCC in 2025, we celebrated the first EUCC accredited conformity assessment bodies, the CABs. This landmark in the certification field paved the way for certified products. The EUCC is picking up. As of February 2025, member states can deliver EUCC certificates. Today, there are 29 EUCC certificates available, covering mostly microcontrollers, but also network equipment, tachographs, and cryptographic modules. Today, there are at least 28 conformity assessment bodies across the EU, covering the different assurance levels. With more than 60% of the total of around 350 yearly CC certificates emitted in the EU, and almost half of the global capacity of common criteria labs based in Europe, as of February 2026, all CC certificates in the EU will be UCC ones. ENISA, together with the Commission, are actively working by conducting pilots and studies to ensure presumption of conformity to the Cyber Resilience Act via EUC certificates, as both the EUCC scheme and the CRA can work hand in hand to increase product security across Europe. Later today, we will celebrate the EUCC certificates and conformity assessment bodies. Secondly, the EUDI, so the EU Digital Identity Wallets. The use of digital wallets is a pivotal step towards a seamless and secure identification in both the physical and digital world. It ensures the security and protection of privacy of users and their personal data. The certification scheme will verify that each wallet meets high security requirements. Following the adoption of a regulation to establish the European Digital Identity Framework, the Commission has requested ENISA to provide support for the certification of European Digital Identity Wallets, including the development of a candidate European Cybersecurity Certification Scheme in accordance with the Cybersecurity Act. We have delivered. With the active participation of member states, standardization bodies, industry, and experts, on the 3rd of April this year, ENISA launched the public consultation, the draft candidate EU Digital Wallet Certification Scheme, subsequent to the scheme's development with the dedicated ad hoc working group. Yesterday, during the European Cybersecurity Certification Group meeting, the draft scheme was discussed, and ENISA will continue working closely with the member states and the Commission to address their feedback and to ensure that the EUDIW scheme meets the high assurance level expectations of all. Moreover, ENISA, in close collaboration with the European Commission, is providing support for the development, rollout, and implementation of EU Digital Identity Wallet national certification schemes, offering support templates, capacity building, and technical guidance to all 27 member states. Finally, a few words about the EU MSS. In May 2025, ENISA received the request by the Commission to draft the candidate scheme on managed security services. Discussing with the member states and the industry, and through an open call for participation, we established in September 2026 an ad hoc working group of almost 100 participants, and starting working on the scheme, including horizontal service provisioning, but also dedicated verticals such as incident response. For the next 2 days, the ad hoc working group holds its plenary here in Cyprus to discuss the draft version of the scheme that we have put on the table. We aim to publish the scheme for public consultation and feedback in the course of the summer, little under 1 year since we started working on it. With the Cyber Solidarity Act being in force since February 2025, the first focus of the EU MSS scheme will be on incident response services, which MSS providers will deliver through the EU Cybersecurity Reserve. MSS providers will be expected to certify their services 2 years after the scheme has been in place. Certifying managed security services is an effective means of building trust, the quality of those services. Ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you all to actively engage, not only today, but through the public consultations that we've launched, will be launching, through the ad hoc working groups, webinars, and other initiatives of the European Cybersecurity Certification Framework. Inevitably, the Commission's proposal on CSA2 is something in the back of everyone's mind, and I'm very grateful to the Deputy Director General for giving us a bit of insights of the Commission's thinking. And I'm also very grateful for the Cyprus Presidency for taking the challenge head on. We look forward to building on the strengths of the European Cybersecurity Certification Framework as it stands, its lessons, successes, but also to improve upon what can be improved on the basis of the feedback. And that's very much the ethos of this conference, to allow you to give us feedback so that we can become better. Please use this opportunity. We will welcome that and enjoy the conference. Thank you so much.
We would like to thank all our keynote speakers. And what we have heard so far is clear. The policy direction is set, the ambition is high, and no longer certification is just an idea, it's becoming a reality. And we have the ambitions to go forward and work in practice on this area. So before we go deeper in the schemes and the technicalities, it's important to make a pause. So certification is not only a policy contract, it's already delivering in practice, and this is the time I want to welcome on stage my colleague Philippe Blonde, who is the head of sector and the deputy head of unit in the certification team, to guide us through the award ceremony. So Philippe, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. So we'll start the award ceremony. So, we have many participants or stakeholders to celebrate. First, we will start with the NCCA, the National Cybersecurity Certification Authorities. These member states representatives play a significant role in the supervision of certification. And supervision is a broad word because it also encompasses the notification of the caps, and so supervision is also an active role. We will invite them on stage, please. Here are the 20 ones that we want to celebrate. Please come on stage. NCCA supervision guys. Why do we have 20 and not 27? That's a question. The answer is very simple. There are 20 out of 27 that declared on the ENISA website the fact that they have a point of contact and or a website that they can provide information to us and to everyone, to their to the stakeholders, the national participants, to the ecosystem. So we want to celebrate. Please go on first. So we want to celebrate the involvement of the NCCAs that participate to the daily development of the schemes, that to participate to the negotiations of the scheme, the draft schemes we are establishing. Yesterday they were at the ECCG, and they also represent the ecosystem of certification nationally, because at the beginning there was a big confusion that ENISA would not only draft the scheme but also would operate certification, which is not the case at all. ENISA is preparing the draft schemes that are then transformed into EU law, and the guys that are in charge to apply these EU laws are here. So applause to them. Thank you very much. Please continue. Continue giving good opinions on ENISA works, please. Ouais, yeah. So, first one. Now, we want to give a thanks to the certification bodies. Certification bodies are the ones that deliver the certificates. It's rather recent activity because it started in February 25. In the meantime, they were accredited, authorized where necessary, and notified by the national authorities that you've just seen. The difference that was introduced with EUCC as compared to the SOGAES was that not only national bodies will certify, but also the private ecosystem can also play a significant role at the substantial level for EUCC. So we have 12 of them. Why do you see national flags and why do you see names of commercial bodies? It's just what I explained. So the NCCA can also have a certification activity and have their own CB, but also the commercial entities now are taking an important role. Why also it's important to have commercial bodies? It's not only to get at a broader scale, it's also because the CRA also foresees to have notified bodies that will be mostly private CABs. And this offers, of course, the possibility to go for harmonization. So, welcoming on stage both the national certification bodies and the commercial certification bodies that joined this ecosystem. Please come on stage. Allez, don't be shy. At least one. You'll get your picture as the CB. Come in the middle. So, okay, our second one. you see some guys, they want to have 2 awards, at least the guy from France. But thanks for you two to have joined. Unfortunately, not everyone could join this physical event. I hope we'll get more. And you've heard the message also from Despina that we want to create, the Commission proposes to establish a certification assembly. And you guys are the pre-configuration of this assembly. You are all the stakeholders that are taking part to development, operation of the schemes, and hopefully also using the schemes. So far, we will not celebrate the big users of certificates that will come later, but at least we celebrate now the certification body. Applause to them. Thank you so much. And Sylvain is in no third time, huh, please. So, now we'll have the laboratory, the ITCEFs. I hope some of them will join and will be there today. So what is the difference between a CB and a laboratory? So the CB is in charge to certify, to establish a nice certificate and takes the full responsibility of the certificate. The laboratories are there to test the products. Testing is a broad word because it's supposed to be evaluation, but it covers reviewing documentation, at least for EUCC. The other schemes may have different means to assess the products or the services, but reviewing the documentation, testing the conformance of the products towards the specification, trying to find vulnerabilities, and also reviewing the security posture of the sites where the product is designed, developed, produced, and so on. So this is part of the job of the ITCEF. EUCC has decided to go for a separation between the two roles of ITCEFs and CBs because the ecosystem already existed. The ecosystem also had chosen different standards for the accreditation of this entity, so 17025 for the ITCEFs and of course 17065 for the CBs. So it was important for us as a transition from SOGAIS to an EU scheme to maintain the existing ecosystem. Of course, it may cause some troubles with regards to the choice of the accreditation standards, and we are dealing with European accreditation, which was mentioned in the presentation earlier in the keynote. We are trying to deal with them as how to maintain this ecosystem alive. So here are the ITCEFs. So please join on stage. I see 1, 2. So, no flags, but flags. So you see mostly commercial names, but you see sometimes flags for the names. Why? Because some entities are represented in different member states. So for example, ADSEC has 3 locations and Brightside has 2. So 20 represented by 2. Big deal. Let's celebrate. Applause to them. Thanks a lot. So next, the developers of solutions that have been certified. So we had a bit of an issue because we have asked, and this is the way we've done, we will change, so we will do next time. We have asked for the award ceremony, the CBs to relay or request to get the companies that received certificates to come and stage. It was not the most successful way, so we will improve next year. So we don't invite them on stage, but still we have a representation of the certificates that were established as of now. So we have here the flags to represent a bit where certification is active currently. Of course, it will grow in terms of certification capability in Europe. There is, of course, a maturity that the guys that did SOGAES prior to the EUCC are continuing to get. Some of the former SOGAES participants did not yet reach full capacity in terms of IT selves. They have the CB, but not yet the IT self. Therefore, also some people that are a bit absent. Some member states decided to change the model and to go through prior approval instead of going through national certification. So this is also something that will be reflected in next year's. We should have more and more also commercial representation there. But still, for the efforts, please applause. So everyone, but, as we have a bit of time, I would like to invite the ENISA colleagues and the Commission colleagues to come on stage. Why? It's because you don't see their names. You maybe hear a bit about them, but there is. When I joined, these guys are getting the. And please, Johan, come on stage, please. Nobody knows you. It's good that people know about you. So these people are building. Of course, there are more who are online. They couldn't join, unfortunately, or yeah. But this is the back office of certification. So people that are developing for your benefit at EU level the schemes, so preparing the schemes, that's ENISA with the support of Commission, transforming the nice draft schemes, candidate schemes into EU law, that's the Commission. Discussing every 2 weeks, we have regular calls to try and align positions as much as we can. Ensuring everything ENISA does is more or less legal. More or less. And that's our daily work, and I want to celebrate our fellows. Please applause. Thank you.
And also, we wouldn't have been able to do it without Philip, so I think he deserves a special praise.
Thank you. I think we're good for this award ceremony, and I think I give back the floor to you.
Get down the magazine. Thank you, Philippe. Thanks, everybody. So we speak about certification in regulatory terms, but what about companies, developers, operators? And the question is often direct, what is the value of being certified? So Georgia will take over the Mentimeter, and in parallel, we will welcome on stage our next speaker, Stefan Zimmermann, who is the head of industry security at VDMA, to bring us a strong view on how certifications translate into market value. So, our next.
So let's vote. So let's write the first word that comes to your mind. What is the value of being certified? When you hear that question, what do you think? So you can keep answering while we hear our speaker that will explain what is the value of being certified indeed.
Oh, let's wait. Right? Oh, maybe we can switch back because maybe someone wants to see the results. So as you can see here, 100 euros, I think the best answer. Yeah, it depends on which side you are. Maybe you lose 100 euros just for a certificate. So is everybody okay with taking a picture? Then you can move on. 1, 2, 3. Let's go. Okay. So thank you everybody for having me here. Those that do not know VDMA is the Machinery Association based in Frankfurt in Germany. And our members are mostly manufacturers of machinery or plant equipment, automation equipment, industrial control systems, and also industrial software. More or less, those are 80% of them are SMEs with less than 250 employees. And maybe 90% of these companies are affected by the NIS2, directly mentioned in the Annex 2 of the NIS2. And also, of course, affected by the Cyber Resilience Act. And therefore, I assume that everybody is aware of these two topics of CRA and NIS2, and I do not talk about this. So I apologize that I have to look at my notes because I have only 15 minutes. And in 15 minutes to take this topic, it's very difficult. So let's start. So I asked myself, why should there be any value of a certificate? The answer is certification is a proxy for absent trust. Think about it. If a customer trusts the manufacturer, there would be no need for a third party to confirm that the product is secure. The entire certification industry exists because of one thing, of doubt. And that's fine. Doubt is legitimate. When you procure components for critical infrastructures, you need assurance. When you don't know your supplier, you might demand proof from them. That's where certification has a real value. It bridges the trust gap. But here's the thing, certification doesn't create security. It tries to compensate for uncertainty about security. A certificate tells you that a process was followed or that a set of requirements was evaluated at a specific point in time. It doesn't tell you the product is secure today. It doesn't tell you the user of the product installs the patches. It's like a flashlight you use to illuminate your dark basement. So the question we should be asking is not how do we certify more, but where does certification actually create a value and where does it just create cost? So I will start with 5 problems with certification, and this is just a finding in the internet, though this is not an actual certificate. Yeah. So from the industry perspective, we see 5 recurring problems with how certification is being approached. The first problem, not invented here. So proven market acceptance certifications for international standards are already existing. IEC 62443 for industrial automation, ISO IEC 27001 for enterprise security, TISAX for automotive. The industry has a long track in building global certification ecosystems, including trained auditors, test centers, etc. We see this success in thousands of certified products, processes, and systems all over the world. But instead of building on work that works, European institutions develop new schemes from scratch. Why? Because the existing ones are not homegrown. The second, not good enough. IEC 62443 is a risk-based approach. It scales the application of security requirements depending on a threat. Entire sectors like healthcare or automotive or marine equipment use it as the basis for their cybersecurity approach. But when regulation like the CRA comes in, suddenly the same standard is not good enough anymore. Why? Because the level of security we are now talking about is 100%. We need more practice-driven, institutional understanding of how risk management in the security practice will actually work. There is no 100% security. What we need as an industry is good enough security. Third, the untrusted certificate. A company has a certified product for InfoSec management system. It strictly evaluates the products and processes with an independent assessment. So far, so good. But the evaluation methodology is proprietary, a secret, and confidential. So other stakeholders in this regard say, we cannot verify what we can't see. Therefore, we don't trust this certificate. And instead of demanding transparency with this certification process within this existing scheme, the answer is, let's build a new one, which we then can trust. A new scheme that will probably have the same transparency problem. The fourth, let's create market demand. A lot of voluntary schemes were invented. For example, the German IT security label, also a Finnish IT security label. Yeah, hope it doesn't fall down, so fill up. And so, there's these security labels. But the use of them in the industry is very poor. Why? From our side, that's a clear market signal. The schemes don't create enough value for the industry. But instead of asking why, the institutional response may be, let's make it mandatory for public procurement to make it successful. Certification should not respond to market demand. It should not manufacture demand through regulation. A scheme nobody asked for will only exist because of legal pressure. And forced certification doesn't build trust. It just builds compliance bureaucracy. And the last, fifth one, is the well-known illusion of compliance. So take ISO 27001. If you have a process that says you shall document whether you've patched your servers, and months after months you correctly document that you have not patched, then you are in compliance. Your process works. Your security is terrible. And the certificate becomes just a rubber stamp. Or take the vertical standardization work for the CRA, for the important and critical products. The harmonized standards do not cover all functionalities of those products. They are just developed to address the core functionality listed in the annexes. So a product may be in conformance for the core functionality because it leverages these harmonized standards, but the CRA demands conformity for the entire product. you can certify one component in a system that follows these functionality. You can put a sticker on this component, and then the system manufacturer using this component peels literally off this certificate, puts it on his system, and claims compliance for the system. So that's not security. That's also not compliance, because the product, the system is not in compliance with the CRA. And it's dangerous because everyone thinks it's safe when it shouldn't. So, conclusions. So does certification has a value? Yes, but it depends. As mentioned before, certification doesn't create security, it tries to compensate the uncertainty. That means for big companies, certification is a perfect marketing tool, a competitive differentiator. They can afford it, and their customers expect it. For them, it works. And I would argue that when I now have seen the numbers of certificates for EUCC, when you take a look at which companies these are not small companies in most cases. So for them, it works. But for the majority of European manufacturers, which are mostly SMEs, certification is currently no additional value. It's more or less a burden for SMEs. It costs without return. So the machinery operator, for example, the operators of the machinery, not those that are certified, that are maybe using certified products, they don't ask for certificates. They ask, does your machinery deliver quality outcome? Or they want quality products. Is the machinery reliable? So is it safe? And is it secure? And therefore they ask, can you prove also this? And can I verify this as a user? So this is the future. We have 4 things to take in mind. The first, certification must align with both the market requirements, so taking into account the user, and also the regulatory requirements. If it only serves the regulator but not the market, it will be ignored. If it only serves the market but not the regulator, it will be overruled by the regulation. A certification that gives presumption of conformity based on harmonized standards is for us as industry the gold standard. Once again, the certification with a presumption of conformity and based on harmonized standards is the gold standard. Second, do not invent schemes or certifications that ignore either perspective, because they will fail. Look at EUCC. ENISA's own mapping study last year found out that there are significant gaps between the EUCC or the protection profiles and the CRA essential requirements. So existing profiles don't cover the CRA scope, and ENISA itself, I think it's ENISA, concluded that adding CRA elements, at least last year it was mentioned, that it's complex, if not unfeasible. So, yeah, no. We have a break afterwards, we can discuss this. So, third one, certification should follow market needs, not vice versa. So don't build a scheme and then look for products to apply it to. That's not how trust works. When talking of CRA products, there's a clear industry need. There's a really clear industry need for a third-party conformity assessment with presumption of conformity based on EN IEC 62443. For NIS2, there's a clear need for the acceptance of ISO IEC 20001 in every European member state. So currently we have these different approaches in all European member states. We have heard from Despina the future NIS2 scheme, which we welcome when there's a substantial, basic and high view on that, and with a basic view, the statement of conformity can be done just by presenting an ISO 27000 certificate. And that would make every company all over Europe in compliance with the NIS2. This would be very good. Then, last point here for today, avoid any conflict of interest in the process. A notifying authority must be independent from conformity assessment bodies. That's also in the CRA legal text. That is also the case also for the CRA. But in some member states in Europe, I don't name them, one institution writes technical rules, decides who may certify, conducts market surveillance, receives vulnerability reports, and supervises these companies under not only the CRA, but also on the NIS2. So it looks like a one-stop shop for security. That's not efficiency from our perspective. That's a closed loop and a clear conflict of interest. If we want certification to build trust, the system itself must be trustworthy. So structural separation, not concentration of power. So, my last slide. I want to close with the Abraham Maslow. Maybe you know Abraham Maslow. His famous words were, if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. So you know it. It's from Abraham Maslow. So from our perspective now, not every product is a smart card. Yeah. EUCC has its place, of course, for chips, for smart cards, for hardware security modules. But when we try to stretch to cover industrial systems, industrial control systems, automation systems, tailor-made machinery, complex systems like trains, products that are configured differently for every customer with life cycles of 20 or 30 years, we're using the wrong tool. And we know it. NISA knows it, the Commission knows it, the industry has been saying it for years. The market already has better tools for most of these products I mentioned. International established tools with a high market demand. Let's use them. Let's build on what works. Thank you. Do you have any questions? Yeah, are there? Yeah.
There is a...
Markus. Wait.
Okay. If you say common criteria is not the right tool, what is the right tool for industrial security systems?
So I know the name of this conference is European Cybersecurity Certification. It looks like EUCC, but it's not only EUCC. So what I mentioned is we have already in place cybersecurity certifications globally driven with the not with the EN, with the IEC 62443 framework, for example. And this framework is used globally in different sectors like healthcare, automotive, machinery, automation, robots, you name it. Given that, we see a clear problem at the moment that manufacturers that are using these for certifying their components stop using it because of the CRA. There's a clear lag between the existing 62443 versions and the CRA, for example, for the SBOM or for vulnerability handling, whatever. So therefore, Cenelec started work a couple of years ago on integrating in the European version of the 62443 the missing aspects from the CRA. This work is undergoing. The 62443-4-2 and 4-1 are now under public drafts, can be reviewed from everybody. And given that, our goal as an industry is to have these cited in the official journal of the European Union. Why? 90% of products in the CRA do not get presumption of conformity because nobody works on harmonized standards that are getting cited by the Commission. Most of the work that is undergoing is in the verticals. And given that, those that are not in the verticals, that are mostly all these industrial components and industrial systems, lack harmonized standards. That was the reason why 62443 was in work. And I encourage everybody to read the drafts, to engage, because at the moment we are just working on a component level. So of course, the most problems are in the components because they are connected, but in the end we have complex systems. And if you have a developer or contributor to complex systems, please keep in mind that nobody in the moment works on harmonized standards for your products. So in the end, when the CRA is here, you will not get presumption of conformity because nobody has ever adopted a harmonized standard for your product. So be assured that for our perspective, the 62443 is the gold standard for that. And it's even internationally somehow aligned. So we last point here, sorry for talking so long, that's the reason why I use my notes. What we often get is the question, so we now change the way the international standard works. We use international standards, we adopt them. That is also foreseen in the CRA. What is the chance of getting the changes back into the international community? And from our perspective, there will be two separate standards in the future. So we will have an international version of an international standard, and we have a European version, because not everything in the CRA is seen positive in the global perspective. So, and we will see what is happening on the certification part. Do international companies just use the European version and try to give this also to other international companies? Or will they have two separate certificates? And from my perspective, I doubt that. We will maybe see that the EN version of an international standard will be the most used one and not the international version anymore.
We have a couple of questions through the Mentimeter, so let's have Philip. Yes. Yes.
Thanks. So there is questions and comments for sure. Question is on the impossibility mentioned to integrate CRA requirements into EUCC protection profiles. So this is more a comment than a question. The question is online. No, it's okay. The point is we have. Based on the request from the Commission to investigate a bit further on the applicability or preparation of presumption of conformity to CRA3 EUCC certificates. So we have developed first a study and we have launched pilots. In 2 weeks, we will have a workshop at ENISA Athens to see the outcomes of 18 pilots conducted by the colleagues here, monitors by the colleagues here, and with the support of industry. The conclusion is less straight than we cannot. It's we will see. There are some opportunities to integrate CRA requirements into EUCC certificates, be it directly into individual security targets, but also through protection profiles. So this is not a closed door. And the issue you are maybe mentioning is the international community of protection profiles that have been developed, the collaborative protection profiles that have been developed under the supervision of the US and allies from the US, that the guys that do more substantial level. This is for us also something to investigate, how we can convince the international community to also adopt CRA requirements into their efforts. But there are some international companies that are also represented into these pilots that will also give this possibility probably by pushing the integration of this CRA thing. So it's not so much a question to you, is more a comment that it's ongoing work and we don't have yet a conclusion that no, it will not work.
Yeah, so currently difficult, the future looks promising.
We'll see, but nothing is impossible. We are working hard to make it happen. Another comment, maybe, and I don't know whether someone wants to comment from the room, is that certification doesn't bring security. Well, I may object, not with the ENISA hat, but with the previous ANSI hat. Of course, now I have the ENISA hat, but as ANSI, okay, whatever hat.
There you come with a hat.
With a certification hat.
Yeah.
So, and maybe Sylvain wants to comment and others that do certification. So there are schemes where you get a certificate if you apply. Okay, I apply, I get a certificate. There are schemes where you apply and 50% of the time you get a fail.
Yeah.
There is a reason why you get a fail. It's not because you are a bad guy, that there is a conflict of interest. It's because your product doesn't meet the security requirements.
Yeah.
So certification is there also to help the ecosystem to get an appreciation of the security. Why is it important? Is because a third party has more tools, has more knowledge than an internal lab may have. Of course, some big companies that are here, you mentioned that EUCC certificates are mostly for big companies. Maybe this will change over time, but for the time being, it's more B2B business, of course. So there will be schemes that will maybe cover other requirements. But so some of the companies that are currently certified, they have these internal labs that can prepare so that they don't fail with third-party labs or third-party certification. But other more SMEs companies that go to certification, sometimes they couldn't test as much as possible the status, the security level. They didn't have the competence to assess in-depth the vulnerabilities of their system. So it will have to change, of course, with the CRA, but certification is also a tool to assess. So it's not only to create a stamp that you can blame, is also a tool to get an assessment.
Yeah, that's true. So it was just to bring you on stage. No, not only, but we have, so I'm also personally certified as a CISSP. I have done it, I think, in 2027, long time ago. I had the personal certification for 62443 not so long ago. And there you also can see the differences between certificates. So with the CISSP, I have done a boot camp, having 5 days somewhere outside in Germany, all the days, full 5 days. It was very interesting, and it has a great value. So given that, I have done the 62443 certification, and this is a mess because you just get PDFs of training material. You have to learn what is written on this slide deck, even if it's wrong. And then the questions, there's 100 questions asking you what was on the slides. And that does not count as security. So given that, you might be right for the right certificate, for the right approach, for the process, but I just say delve, and when you hear delve, you know we have a problem with certification when you just have it as a rubber stamp and do not follow the process at all. Okay, that's it.
Thank you very much. So it was nice. So this concludes the first part of the conference. So this morning we moved from vision to proof and from proof to value. And before we set the skin with the CSA2 and the new European Cybersecurity Certification Framework, we'll have a coffee break. You can see the result of the Mentimeter. It's nice to have your views here. And we'll be sharply back at 11:30 EST, because Cyprus time. And we want you back to follow us. So let's take a break and we go to the sun here to enjoy the coffee. Okay, thank you.